In our earlier conversation, you indicated that early on the rich dad, poor dad philosophy clearly influenced you. How did that mindset shape your approach to building a business versus just doing deals?
Yeah, so I was raised by, immigrant family. The name of the game in the house was get good grades, go to a good school, get good grades there, and then go get a job with a Fortune 50 company and work it for 45 years and then retire with a pension. So that's what I always thought was the name of the game. And then when I was 16, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, where literally that was the example of the poor dad, right?
Mhm.
Was this ultra successful pension, massive school system superintendent. And I was like, and at the time, that was the only way I knew to make money. I didn't know there was other options. And so that opened my eyes to see that, being a business owner has so many advantages, not only from the time freedom aspect, but then also the tax advantages. The government, everyone thinks that the IRS is there to collect taxes. That's totally not true. Maybe 1% of the 70,000 plus pages are for, you know, raising tax revenue. The other 99% is to incentivize people to do things that the government wants by not taxing them, right? So the taxes that you actually pay is because you're being penalized for the things that they don't want you to do. So, the government wants to do basically three main things. If we're going to super simplify it, it's going to be housing, energy, jobs. If you do any of those three things, you're going to get advantages. If you do more than one of those, you combine them, then your advantages are going to go through the roof.
Yeah, it compounds as you go, doesn't it?
Correct. Yes, correct. So that's what I saw when the book laid out the same exact of gross revenue, if you will, W-2 income versus top line revenue of a business, and then how it filtered down to the actual dollars in your pocket. And when those dollars are paid out in tax to the government, it just clicked right there for me. So immediately I wanted to go into being a business owner. My parents are from a background where business ownership is risky. So they said, hey, go get a degree, because if business doesn't turn out well, you still have that degree. No one can take that degree away from you. But that being said, through college, I started a business, helped me pay for, expenses. It was great. And then right when I got out of college, I actually did get a job with a Fortune 50 company, did get a pension, which is hysterical for, someone that came out in 2013. My generation was my age group was kind of hit with multiple horrible situations all back to back. So as I was going into college, it was the great financial crisis. As I was coming out of college, we had some shocks. Then very quickly, you had like all of these successions of like, if I was a W-2 employee during these times, this would have been very tough to recover from.
For sure.
So within, I don't know, I lasted 13 months in the 9 to 5 world. Already by 6 months in, I had already started doing real estate and decided to finally, I saw how much money I was making on nights and weekends. And I said, why don't I spend all my time doing this? So quit my job, kind of like a hail of like a fiery storm, basically burned all the bridges to guarantee I couldn't come crawling back with my tail between my legs. Gave myself no other option other than the business succeeding. And that's when I started wholesaling first, then fix and flipping, and then buying rentals on the residential side. That was in Iowa. And then we expanded other markets. Eventually I moved back to Chicago, where it ended up being our main market until we went into commercial real estate.